In this video, in the series of videos, let us now learn about a powerful tool which is part of SAP GRC's Access Control module. The tool name is Emergency Access Management, in short EAM. Emergency Access Management is used to perform some of the duties that the users are not um, normally privileged to do, in meaning from their day-to-day activities access standpoint. But in sometimes when they need some access that the users don't normally have uh, or privileged to have, but with the appropriate approvals, and the access can be given to is provided to the users, and the users can then can carry out some business transaction codes for a specified period of time. Now, what it means is that emergency access management, EAM, capability allows the users or you as a security administrator to implement your company's policies for managing emergency access. Okay, so there are occasions where you would have users would need access which are out of their normal uh, activities, and they would you would need, as a security administrator, you would need to provide such access for at least maybe for a short period of time. So users can create self-service requests for emergency access to systems and applications, and then the business process owners can review the request for emergency access and grant access. And after that, the compliance people, persons can perform periodic audits of the usage and the logs to monitor compliance with the company guidelines. So when people monitor and with the monitor with the periodic audits and of the usage and logs, what it basically does is it basically mitigates the additional authorizations risk by tracking changes made by users when they use emergency access management provision, which means to change that they use to change or rectify some issues using business transactions in the SAP system. Instead of using their own access, they use the emergency, higher level access, because their own access is basically less privileged, right? So emergency access are used basically for handling short-term authorizations, but with and inherent risks. So example of that is period end closings, right, such as month end or year end or quarterly closings, where the users may not have the access they would need, um, and they would need the access only for a short period of time, right? And this access is not part of their regular authorizations in the SAP system. So in other words, providing such transaction codes uh, are more liberal in an IT environment might lead to business risks and the opportunity to misuse such transactions. So, however, so, uh, but at the same time, right, these actions may be needed to be used as part of business activities, and if their usage may be need to be tracked as an emergency access action and audited to ensure that an audit and that no intentional or unintentional risks are posed by using these transaction codes or activities. Okay, so and also this could be used during role redesign and remediation process by enabling users to address some of the missing authorizations. So this tool enables to the users to continue with the business transactions while your security team addresses the regular authorization issues, which might take some time per your company policies and procedures. So basically what EAM does is it helps reduce your business downtime due to any authorization related issues while tracking all of the user activity at the same time. And you can also use this for security role redesign also by running the reports and such as knowing to understand what transaction codes are being used regularly by the users, which are the least used transaction codes or least used roles, what kind of access that which transaction codes are not being used from a role. You can do all sorts of analysis when you run the reports from emergency access management. So if something is, a transaction code is being used because of EAM on a regular basis, so you might, as well give it as part of the user's regular access. So it will basically help you. EAM also helps you to who all are using those transaction codes, that kind of stuff. Things could be done using uh, EAM, which helps in role redesign. Um, and plus, like I said, right, it also provides uh, a process, with a workflow process, which provides an auditable process for ensuring the logs reports have been reviewed by supervisors, that is your firefighter ID controllers, following the firefighter activity. So it has, you have to go through a workflow process if need be, if you want to, where, the access is approved and everything is logged for auditing purposes, and the controllers um, who monitor these logs can know what has been used by the users with the emergency access that was given to them. EAM is, you have two application types within EAM, which is one is the ID based, user ID based firefighting, and the second one is role based firefighting. So what the user ID based firefighting does is, in here in the ID based firefighting, you provide firefighter authorizations by assigning firefighter IDs to users, the actual users. Okay, so the access is not directly assigned to the user, but it is as the access is given to a user, firefighter user special ID, firefighter user ID, and then um, as part of the process, that firefighter ID is assigned to the actual user. Okay, there is a process to do that. We'll see how to do that. So the firefighters, that is the users, use the emergency access launchpad to access their firefighter IDs, firefighting IDs, and in the relevant systems, right? Uh, and in a role-based firefighter, what happens is you create the firefighter roles uh, on the plugin systems, that is your and backend systems like ECC, BI, and then assign them to the roles. Basically, in this case, is the roles. You assign them to the users on the GRC system side. Okay. So in this case, what happens is the firefighter directly logs onto the that is the firefighter user, right? The firefighter directly logs onto the plugin system, that is the ECS system, using their user ID and performs the firefighting activities. So in ID-based firefighting, what happens is you'll be invoking, the firefighter would be invoking um, the EM launchpad, okay, and which could be done in two different ways, okay, which is the firefighting can be set up in two different ways. One is on as something called as a centralized EAM, which is done on the GRC system, or you can set up the EAM as decentralized, which is basically done in the plugin systems. Okay, so you can use two methodologies, two methods of setting up or implementing EAM. One is centralized EAM, that where you basically set it up using on the GRC system, and then these GRC systems are connected to the plugin systems, right? The EAM, sorry, ECC, BI, and all. So users, firefighters will log into the central system, that is the GRC system, and then using the EAM launchpad connect to the child systems, that is ECC, BI, whatever you have, right? And the second method that you have is the decentralized EAM, right? So in this case, the setup is done mainly on the user's login on the plugin system side. They don't log into um, the central system, that is the GRC system, right? And after that, you could have a ID-based firefighter and role-based firefighter. In ID-based firefighter, the difference is special firefighter ID is created and assigned uh, to the user, okay? And in a role-based firefighting, our role is assigned to the user directly in the system where the firefighting needs to be done. That is the plugin system. And the user can then use his or own user ID to perform firefighting activities. So you have two application types in firefighting, is ID based and role based, and the setup itself is again it could be done. We have two options for the setup itself, which is one is the centralized setup, and the second one is the decentralized setup. Now, the concept of ID-based firefighter, like I said, was, you have the roles which are assigned to the firefighter ID. So these roles and the firefighter are in the backend system, that is the child system, which is going to be ECC, BI, or whatever, right? The plugin systems basically, and then you assign those IDs, the firefighter ID to the users, and these users are going to be in the uh, central system, the GRC system, okay? And similarly, if you have the role-based, the firefighter role is, again, the firefighter roles are directly assigned to the users. Okay, there is no concept of a special firefighter ID in the role-based firefighting. Okay, so the difference between ID-based and the role-based is that in the ID-based, you will have a special firefighter ID that will have the emergency role assigned to that ID, and that firefighter ID would be assigned to the firefighters, the users, end users, okay, who are going to use EAM. And then in a role-based, you don't have the concept of the special firefighter ID. You directly assign the firefighter roles to the users. Now, these firefighter roles are the roles which has elevated access, okay, that the users normally don't have as part of their normal access. Okay, so that's the difference between these two, ID-based as well as firefighter, the role-based. Now, like I said, there are centralized EAM, and then you have the centralized EAM, right? You could have one of these two setups. That centralized EAM system is invoked from the central GRC system, and you invoke that using the transaction code GRAC_EAM. Okay, but if you're implementing a decentralized EAM, which means you use the EAM setup in the plugin system, which is ECC or BI or whatever else you have, you execute or invoke EAM transaction emergency access using the transaction /n/grcpi/GRIA_EAM. Okay, so there are two different ways of invoking and setting up EAMs. One is centralized, another is decentralized. Now, this diagram shows you basically um, the difference between EAM setup and the centralized EAM setup and decentralized EAM setup. Now, like I said, right, the decentralized EAM setup allows you to use EAM Launchpad directly in the plugin system itself, right? And to perform the firefighting activities. So in case, normally people do centralize nowadays, but one of the advantages could be that, if GRC system goes down for some reason, if you have the decentralized EAM setup, then your business is not going to get affected because users can still perform the emergency access, get the emergency access and perform their activities that they would need to perform on an emergency basis. So that is one of the big plus points if you have a decentralized EAM. So like I said, right, so to execute or invoke EAM in the decentralized, you have to execute this transaction slash grcpi slash GRIA underscore EAM. Okay. And the transaction code, right? As that transaction runs locally, this also requires users to have accounts in the relevant plugin systems in order to perform firefighting. So what that means is, in a centralized system, right, the firefighter users, their IDs, the actual user IDs need not exist in the plugin system, right? So you just have to create the firefighter IDs here. And then in the GRC system, you assign that firefighter ID to the firefighters, the users. Okay. So in this case, you don't need to have the users and have their IDs exist in the plugin systems. But whereas in decentralized EAM, the user's actual user ID, right? The firefighters user ID. Those user IDs have to be exist in the plugin system. And the emergency role will be assigned to their own user IDs, right? So that is the main difference. Um, the, what are the different functions that you can do between firefighter user ID, the decentralized EAM and the decentralized EAM, right? In the decentralized EAM, for example, um, you have the EAM launchpad, that is this transaction code for the plugin systems, right, using that transaction code. Now you can also extend validity periods for firefighting assignments. That's one thing you could do. And also you can enable uh, firefighter logon email notifications, right? In that case, you will have to set up, the email, the SCOT, in the transaction as COT, you have to set up the emails and you probably need to set up a workflow also if you need to get some approvals kind of thing. So, and then you can also customize the text, right? The text that goes with the email notifications, right? You could basically say that so-and-so person that is using EAM for whatever reasons, right? So you could do all of that here. And plus in the centralized EAM system, in that case, along with the validity period and the email notification, you can also check the logs and the reports. Okay. And in firefighter launchpad in the centralized EAM system would be with the transaction GRAC underscore EAM. Okay. So this is a brief introduction to what is an EAM is, emergency access management. And so we saw what is centralized EAM and the decentralized EAM. And then we also saw the application types, right? ID-based firefighting and rule-based firefighting. And let us go and see what do we need for configuring this EAM, right? We'll just go through a brief, overview of the steps that we would need to perform in order to configure and use EAM. Now, after the GIS system is installed, as a post-installation steps, you need to activate certain BC sets related to EAM. Okay, that is one of the first things that you do. After that, you probably need to check whether the connector groups are set up properly or not. If you have, GIS is already implemented and set up for, let's say, risk analysis and all. So disconnected groups would have been created. So you would have to do that. And then you also, for to use set up EAM, you need to have set up the integration scenarios also. We'll see what these are and how these are set up as part of the demo videos. Okay, and similarly, you will have to check and set up some configuration parameters on the GRC system side. And then you also have the configuration parameters in the couple of parameters in the plugin system. So you need to set up configuration parameters in both the GRC system and then also a couple of them in the plugin system. Okay, we'll see in detail what these parameters are and what is the purpose of each of those parameters and what values you could give to those parameters. Okay, so that's it. Now you'll also need to have some user IDs that need to be created on the backend plugin system. The firefighter ID itself is created in the backend system, but you also need to create or have users for monitoring, for approving and controlling the audit logs and monitoring the audit logs of the emergency access. So you'll need to create some user IDs to do that, right? So you will have in the access control system, that is the GRC system. So you have typically 4 types of users, okay? So one is the firefighter, which is your actual user. And then you have the firefighter controller, whose job is basically to monitor the logs, right? So you will have the controller, right? So the controllers, what they do is they monitor the firefighter usage, firefighter ID usage, not the firefighter usage, the firefighter ID usage by reviewing the log reports or log report workflow and receiving email notifications of firefighter ID logon events. Okay, now each of these users, right, will be assigned roles. Okay, we'll see what those roles are. So firefighter user, okay, so firefighter controller is basically a person who monitors the firefighter ID usage, okay, by reviewing the log reports basically. Okay, now you also have the firefighter owner, okay. Now what these people do is the owners can assign firefighter IDs to firefighters, okay, and define who the controllers of those firefighter IDs are. Okay, owners can view firefighter IDs assigned to them by the administrators, the GRC administrator. Okay, they cannot assign. That is the owners, the firefighter owners. They cannot assign firefighter IDs to themselves. Okay, so and again, to do that, owners also have a role that needs to be assigned to them. Okay, and then you also have the firefighter user, who is actually the firefighter. Okay, who is actually the actual user ID. That is, you're going to log into the GRC central system the GRC system to use the firefighter ID. Okay, so these guys, these firefighters can access firefighter IDs assigned to them and can perform any tasks for which they have authorizations. Okay, authorizations coming from the emergency role, the elevated role. Now, firefighters use the firefighter ID logons to run transactions during emergency situations. So these elevated access is not assigned to these people as part of their normal access. Okay, so only they use the firefighter IDs, invoke the firefighter IDs to perform whatever activities they need to perform um, during emergency situations. Okay, now that is one. Then you also have the fourth, another user ID for administrators, right? Firefighter administrators. So who is this person, right? So these guys, the administrators, have complete EM capability. Okay, so which means they can do whatever they can within for configuring and managing EM. So they assign these firefighter administrators, they assign firefighter IDs to owners and to firefighters. Administrators also run reports, maintain the data tables, and make sure that the reason code table is correct. So when firefighter user uses the firefighter IDs for emergency purposes, they also have to specify the reason as to why they are using the firefighter access or the emergency access, right? So there are the administrators will have to create and maintain reason codes for depending on the situations or their normal scenarios, okay, according to the company policies. So they are responsible for maintaining the reason code stable and ensure that it is current. Now, administrators can enable email notifications for controllers through firefighter assignment function and through customizing. So they also have to do this. Again, all these users have some SAP standard roles, which we'll see in the next slides, uh, that need to be assigned to them, okay, in order to perform the activities uh, within EAM. Okay, then you also have to create a special firefighter user ID in the plugin system, that is a target system, where the activities are going to be performed. Okay. So when, so this is the ID that is going to have the elevated access. Okay. And one of the things that it needs, this user ID also needs to have is the authorization with to S_RFC authorization object so that the remote logon is enabled for them. Okay. So, and again, this like all the remaining roles, there is another role that needs to be assigned, a standard role, a delivered role, or a copy of that delivered role needs to be assigned to the firefighter user ID. Okay, and this standard delivered role, right? We'll see what that one is in a minute. Is assigned only during for ID based firefighting, not the role based firefighting. Okay. So you have to have, the firefighter as administrator, it could be you as a security administrator or a GRC administrator. But apart from your own user ID, you need to create at least 3 user IDs in the GRC system. And we are talking in terms of centralized EAM, okay? So in case of centralized EAM, you need to create the 3 user IDs, okay? Or have these people in the system, okay? So somebody could be your manager could be, the user's managers firefighter users manager could be a controller, or a director could be a controller, okay? Uh, the firefighters manager could be a owner, and a director could be the controller. Okay, so those people need to be, their IDs have to be created or need to exist in the GRC system. Okay, and these are the three types of users, three users, they need to be there in the system along with your ID, the GRC administrator's ID in the GRC system. Okay, and in the target plugin system, a special ID has to be created. Okay, that was going to be mapped in the GRC system to the firefighter user, whoever that person is. Okay, and this firefighter ID, the special firefighter ID, which needs to be of service type. Okay, all these could be dialogue, okay, because they are actual people. Okay, all these four people are actual people, so they will have their own user IDs. Okay, so these IDs could be dialogue type, whereas the special firefighter ID that you create in the plugin system will be of service type. Okay, now let us see, what roles this user should have in the delivered roles or a copy of those delivered roles, right? So the firefighter user, okay, the firefighter basically needs to be assigned this role, okay? This is, you can make a copy of this role and you can check, we'll check what these roles contain, what authorization these roles contain. Similarly, a firefighter controller should be assigned this role. And these are mandatory steps, okay? A firefighter controller should be assigned the user management controller role. The firefighter user needs to be assigned the super user management user role. The firefighter owner needs to be assigned the super user management owner role. Okay. And in the target system, GRAC underscore SPM underscore FFID, this is a standard delivered role. And you need to configure this in part of the parameter also. We'll see how to configure the parameters in the demo videos. Okay, so this role or a copy of this role should be assigned to the firefighter IDs in the target plugin systems. Okay, that is your ECC system or a BI system. Okay, now along with these roles, right, you also need to assign these two roles. Actually, there's another one, the users will need the NWBC role also in these cases, in the case of controller and the owner, they will also need to have the NWBC role. So in the demo, we'll see what that NWBC role, but each of these users, right, these 4 or 5 users, including your own, the GSA administrators user, all these 5 people will need these two roles, GRCF underscore FN underscore base and GRCI underscore FN underscore business underscore user and the NWBC role by default. Okay. So these are the required roles within the for these 4 users. Okay. And another type of role is that in the target system, you have to create the elevated role, which gives super user access, right? Instead of you don't want to use SAP all, then you have to create, depending on what your company policy is. For each function module, you could create a display and update type of roles, which gives privileged elevated access to the users. So that is another role that you need to create. So these are delivered roles, which you make a copy of if you want to. But you don't tamper with these roles, okay? You don't make any changes. In case, if you think that some of these roles lack some authorizations, then it is better you make a copy of them and then use those copied roles. Never tamper with this standard delivered roles. So along with the standard delivered roles, This is in the back end as well as the front end. And this is only in the, when I say front end, that is a GRC system. Okay. Uh, Along with this, in the plugin system, you need to create the elevated access role also. Okay, which is then assigned to the firefighters, that special firefighter ID. Okay. Now, the next step in the configuration process is that once these IDs are created in the backend, especially for the backend system, okay, in the plugin system, what do? You have to create the firefighter IDs, and then you also have to create the elevated access, the roles with elevated access. Okay, so to synchronize uh, the data from the plugin system into the front end system, that is your GRC system, you have to run a background job to sync the synchronization background job. Okay, the GRAC repository object sync job. Okay, that also needs to be done because only after you do this job is run, you can then proceed to do the configuration in the NWBC side. Okay. Now, on the NWBC side, you have to perform these activities basically. Okay. The following steps are required to configure the firefighter ID. Okay, so you need to maintain access control owners. So what it means is you have to basically maintain who the controllers are, who the firefighter ID owners are. Okay, so you have to specify the owner, who the owners are, right? The role, basically the NWBC role. Okay, you have to assign that to the controllers and the owners, the firefighter owners, ID owners. Okay. Then you need to assign an owner to the firefighter ID. So this is the role basically, right? You're just saying that this person is the controller and this person is the uh, firefighter ID owner. Okay, that's all you're specifying. That is the role. And now you also need to specify the actual firefighter owner to the firefighter ID. So basically you say the user A is going to own firefighter ID 1, okay, 01 or firefighter ID A. Or owner B will own the firefighter ID B, okay. And then you also have to assign the firefighter ID to the controllers, okay, and the firefighters also. So this is where you map the special firefighter IDs that you create in the plugin system to the actual firefighters, okay. So in this step, that is what you do. And you also in the same, you also assign the controllers to the firefighter ID. So basically you're saying so and so the user C is going to be the controller of firefighter ID 1. Okay, so you have to specify or tie up those two types of users. Okay, then you also have to create the reason codes, right? So reason codes are something that um, users use when they invoke EAM. They have to specify as to why they are using the reasons for using emergency access. Okay, so those are done via reason codes. So once these 4 steps are done on the NWBC side, you will then be able to, the users will then be able to start using the firefighter access. Okay, so these 5 steps are to be done on the NWBC side. Whatever we have seen so far, right, till here, these are all done on the ABAP side. Okay, so far. Either it's on the GRC system or on the ECC system, the plugin system. Okay, but after those things are done, steps are done, you also have some steps, these 5 steps, no 4 steps on the NWBC side. Okay, we'll see how to do that. Okay. And now let us see what you do, right? So the first step that you need to do is maintain the access control owners, right? So saying, specifying as to which owner is the controller, which user is the owner, right? So you have to do, so you can do that for both ID-based applications or the role-based application, right? You can do both. You can, in both cases, you can do that, okay? And this is a screenshot of how it will look, okay? So you have the owner, the firefighter owner, and that his name. And here you're going to add the firefighter ID. So which means you are tying up the owner with the firefighter ID. So one firefighter, owner, the owner can own multiple firefighter IDs. So basically an example would be, let's say in the security team, you have 3 people, right? Now, each of those 3 people will have, uh, let's say they have their own individual firefighter IDs. FFID 01, FFID 03, and 2 and 03. So this owner ID would be your manager, the security team manager. This will be his ID. And under that, you specify he owns FF01, FFID 1, FFID 2, and FFID 3. Okay, that's how you set this up. Similarly, you can set up the firefighter ID and see who all can use that firefighter ID, the special firefighter ID, FFD1, ID1, who all could use that, okay? And similarly, the firefighter ID, who you can assign the controllers, okay? Who can do what, right? This FFCon1, for example, if you look at the screenshot, he will be notified through email notification. FFCon_2 can check the logs. This TAL Varnivov, now he can check Dimitri, he can check the workflow. Okay, he's the controller. These 3 people are controllers for this one firefighter ID, but these 3 can do for different purposes. Okay, so you can specify, assign a firefighter ID to firefighters and to controllers also. Okay, this is a screenshot, 2 screenshots for depicting the assignments. And then every person, when they use emergency access, they need to specify a reason for using it, right? So you need to create a reason. So you need to create reason codes. So you create the reason codes here, and this is a sample screen for that. So we'll see how to create it. Okay. Reporting. So the last step, after that, everything is done for the controllers and the owners or the administrators or whatever it is. They need to generate the reports, right? The log reports, as to understand, to know and monitor what the person has done, what the firefighter has done with the emergency access. So SAP actually gives you 5 types of logs, okay? And these logs are generated by the activities, for the activities that are performed in the plugin system, okay? So there's one type of log is the transaction log. So what it does is it captures the transaction code's execution, okay, transaction code execution. And in order to do that, STAD, the transaction code STAD needs to be running in the plugin system. Okay, this is a basis job, and this is always run. It's already always active in the system. But you need to ensure that to capturing the transaction log, STAD needs to be active in the plugin systems. The second type of log that you have is the change log. Okay, the change log captures the change log from change documents objects. Okay, basically it captures the data from these 2 tables, CDPOS and CDHDR tables. Okay, the third type is the system log. So it captures the debug and replace information from transaction SM21. So the debug details, right, from SM21. The security audit log is the 4th one, right? So for this, when you have to activate the filters in SM19, okay? So once the filters in SM19 are activated, the logs are generated in SM20. So this system security audit log logs the details from transaction SM20, which basically contains your security statistics. Okay. And the last one that you have for reporting logs is the OS command log, right? So this log details, I mean, in this, the log details that are used at the operating system level and are invoked from transactions SM49 and SM69. Okay, so these are the 5 types of logs that get generated. Now, each one of these TAD, CDPOS is always there. SM20, SM19 has to be filtered, activated. With the filter has to be activated for everything in SM19 in order to this security audit log to work, to be captured. Okay, so there are some prerequisites that needs to be done in the plug-in systems, the remote systems or the child systems or backend system, whatever you want to call it. These have to be active. Okay, so in this case SM19, in this case STAD, and maybe ST03N. Let's say include ST03N also. Okay, because and then through SM49 and SM69, it captures the OS command logs at the operating system levels. So these are important, okay? These need to be, these are required for log collection. Okay, the details of transaction codes executed by Firefighter lies in the remote system, that is the plugin system. In that CDHDR table, CDPOS, STAT, SM19, this is what we just saw. And the data from the remote system can be fetched using the log collector, which can be executed as a foreground or a background job. So what are the background jobs you need in the backend system? That is a plugin system. So the background job for log collection can be scheduled from SM36. I'll show you in a demo video. We'll see where this is and how it needs to be scheduled. Okay, and SM36, and which can be scheduled on a periodic basis. The status of the background job can be then checked with the transaction SM37. Okay, now in order to capture the logs, right, all these logs from the plugin system, in the GRC system, this background job also needs to be run. Okay, in the synchronization job node, you will have an option to run this background job. So unless this job is run, all this data that we were talking about, all this data will not be captured in the GRC system. Okay, so in order to capture the log details, all these log details in the GRC system, you need to run this job in the GRC system. Okay, now all of these, keep in mind, all of these are in the plugin system. Okay, but this one needs to be run in the GRC system, not the plugin system. Okay, now what are the different log reports that we have, right? And this is what the users would do. The controllers would run or the owners would run, who needs to monitor the logs. You have these 5, 7, no, how many, 6 types of reports that could be executed by the controllers or the owners. Okay, the consolidated log report. We'll see some of these reports when we set up, when we end, and in the end, okay, not now. After we completely set up the EAM and use it, okay, then we'll see the log reports also. Now, one of the important parts as security GRC administrator is to come up with the EAM strategy. One of the things that you need to do before implementing or configuring EAM is to come up with the EAM strategy. Now, What it means is that, you, depending on your company's policies and requirements, you may have to decide as to how many firefighter IDs you would end up using, or how many owners would you have, or how many controllers would you have, right? So for example, you could have one owner, let's say this is a good example of a, let's say, a team standpoint, right? Let's say a basis team or a security team. The basis manager could be the owner of all the IDs that are allocated to the basis team. Similarly, security manager would be responsible for, would own all the firefighter IDs that are um, that belong to the fire security team, right? So you could have one owner who could own multiple firefighter IDs, okay? So you could decide to have that, right? This is again an example of that, right? One owner, multiple owners, and they own multiple user firefighter IDs, okay? So this could be the security team, this could be the business team, and security team owner owns FFD1, FFID2, and the basis team manager owns FFID3 and FFID4, okay? Similarly, same case with controllers, right? You could have one controller for all the firefighter IDs in your company, okay? Especially when you have a smaller implementation with not too many users, not the team is not big, you could have only one controller, okay? So he would own all the firefighter IDs that get created. Or you could also have controllers, right? So you could have one controller for, let's say, the finance area, another controller for the SD area from a business area standpoint, right? So the controller for SD area would own all the IDs that are allocated for the SD firefighters. Similarly, the finance firefighter controller will control the firefighter IDs belonging to the finance people, firefighters in the finance area. So you could have multiple controllers with multiple controlling the multiple firefighter IDs. You could also have one firefighter ID for multiple users, right? So the entire security team would use only one firefighter ID. You could have that too, right? So one firefighter for multiple users, right? So that could be another thing that you might want to decide, think about. And finally, you could also have one firefighter ID per user, right? So in the security team has 3 people, so each one of them will have um, one firefighter ID individually, right? So for one firefighter to one user, right? One firefighter ID per user. That could be a strategy you could have, or you could have one firefighter ID and for the entire team, and it will be assigned to all the people in the team. So that is one firefighter ID for multiple users. For example, controllers, again, you could have multiple controllers and they could own multiple firefighter IDs, right? Or you could have only one controller owning multiple firefighter IDs, okay? Similarly, the owners, right? You can have multiple owners with owning multiple firefighter IDs, and then you could have one owner who could who could own multiple firefighter IDs. So these are some of the things that you need to have or understand before you start implementing or configuring the EM tool in SAP GRC. So in the next videos, we're going to see how to configure the system in the demo videos, okay? So we'll start off with activating the BC sets.